Hi, Mike Beckett from The Dead Prophet. I've had many guests on my show over the last 2.5 years as we've talked about topics spanning everywhere between where a biblical worldview and real life collide. And it's interesting that after our taping is done and we've stopped the tape, we have some interesting conversation, and our conversation kind of carries on. And there are many times I wish I would have kept that record button rolling to capture some of our conversation. That's what I'm going to start doing from now on. And here is our first take of that with my conversation with Darlene Gildersleeve. As after we got done taping, we continued our conversation and kind of went down the struggles and challenges that mental health has in our churches. So I'd like you to watch as we kind of had a post-show taping and discussion about mental health.
I love how you honed in more on that mental health component. I really like how you hit that because that's so important.
We did one show, and I wish we would do more. We haven't had a chance. I haven't had anybody who's jumped in yet. We did one show on breaking the stigma of mental health in the church way back toward the beginning 2 years ago. A buddy of mine joined me for that. But we have got a major, and this isn't like there's this dichotomy, I think, that exists within our faith here, within Christianity.
Yeah.
That, oh, well, we're Christians, we don't struggle with that.
Right.
Or, oh, we're Christians, we're not supposed to struggle with
right.
that. But then you have the other side of the coin where everybody wants to call, oh, I'm depressed. Well, you got a demon. We got to like shake it till you're
Yeah, exactly.
So you don't have a happy balance here.
Right.
And everybody is just like, it's like I was talking with my buddy and he says, you have pastors that struggle with depression.
Yeah.
And, who are they going to go to in their church?
They feel alone. They feel alone.
Yeah. Who are they going to talk to?
Yeah.
I mean, I remember years and years we were doing worship ministry up at this one church in Lebanon. And every time we'd go up there, and Sean and I would go together until we had our son, and then it was just me going.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the first, and I would get there early purposely, like a whole hour and a half early, because I'd get there and the first hour, him and I'd be talking, and it would just be like, I felt like a counseling session because he was just like unloading about just things going on in the church. But it was a safe place for them.
Right. And they need that. They have no safe space. Yep. And it also, when you're saying about, we don't talk about it in the church because it makes us look weak. Yeah. We don't want to talk about that because then we're not perfect. We have this image of me being a preacher's kid. Everything had to be perfect. You're under a limelight when you're a PK.
Yeah.
This wasn't a PK perfect story, right?
No.
This was like the deck of cards fell and they fell hard.
Yeah.
And the ugliness of that was real.
Yeah, you got more than the Jokers on that one.
Yeah.
You know. But that's it. I mean, we have got to start addressing from our churches. We've got to start addressing the mental health issues, and being okay with people in our church who struggle with mental health. I struggle from mental health.
Yeah.
And I've said that many times on my show. I've said that many times on my show. I struggle with anxiety, depression, and I have bipolar tendencies.
Yeah.
Not to gloat. Oh, I feel like but the reality is that's what I struggle with. So every day there are some days when I get up in the morning, I don't want to get out of bed. And there are days where I'll just keep going and going and going and going because I want to maybe ignore how I'm feeling and not deal with how I'm feeling and take the few moments and say, okay, I need to work through this issue.
Right.
We just don't do that. We just, and then when we have people and, people that come into ministry and they're in leadership and things, and they're like, well, man, I really struggle. I have some mental health issues. Everybody's like, well, let's get rid of you. No, let's work with you. Let's walk this journey.
Yeah.
I think we just expect Christians to come in cleaned up, ready to go, and all set with all of their cylinders firing. And the reality is we're never going to get there. We're never going to reach that perfect, state. It's a journey, and it's a journey of failures and a journey of lessons learned and a journey of faith along the way that is going to help us to grow to become like the disciples and like a disciple of Jesus Christ.
And when you look at all the messes in the Bible, like look at Moses, he couldn't speak. He had dyslexia, right? Didn't he have dyslexia? And
that's what they believe he had. Yep.
Yeah. And you look at like Rahab, she was a prostitute. Like look at all the messes in the Bible that ended up being a message.
Yeah.
And we as Christians now do not look at all of that. David
Yeah.
was a hot mess, you know,
Oh
he
my
killed
word.
somebody and he had like all of these stories. I think, we don't expect that. But when you really get in the Bible, you're like, these people really had messed up lives.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
They
my
don't, it
life was
doesn't.
messed up. And
Yeah.
I think some of that came about where I was like, you know what? Everybody that comes to church isn't perfect. If they're coming then they're not shouldn't be going to church because they're
Right.
perfect. Because everybody
Yeah.
that comes to church should be a mess.
Yeah. It's it. We should, the funny thing is it's like the Sunday's the big deal in a church.
Yeah.
We gotta have, and I think that's the gateway to get people into the church,
Mm-hmm.
because
Mm-hmm.
that's what society associates church with, whether it's your Saturday, Friday, Sunday, whatever it
Right.
might be.
Right.
But the real depth and growth happens the rest of the week. I
Right.
mean, I look at our church, and there isn't a day of the week where somebody's not in that church doing a Bible study or something,
Right.
or something's
Right.
not going on. And I'm just like, there are places that don't have that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. There
and
aren't.
to me, that's healthy. I mean, churches have divorce care,
Yeah.
churches have grief care, churches have, all these other cares to help with different emotions. Like, I can't. There's churches that are going through my head right now. I'd be like, they'd never have divorce care, because they would never sit there and put the stamp of approval. Because
Yeah.
to them, it would be like, well, divorce is okay. That's not what they're saying.
No.
Divorce is just the reality of
Yeah.
humans living together and us living in a sinful world, and it happens. But we can't excommunicate people because they get divorced.
Right. No. We have to
They're
love on
they're
those
not
people.
they're not any less of
Right.
a Christian
Right.
because divorce happened. You
Yeah.
know, and then they were having the parent, the Sunday school for raising kids, and
Oh, okay.
just different things that are going on. But
Yeah.
we it would really be nice to have some just one day seminars on like tackling mental health in the
Yeah.
church.
Yeah.
Leadership development for leaders in the church. Here's,
Right.
we've lost our focus of making disciples, and we're trying to make, like you said, that put on that happy face
Yeah.
and not show. And I think there's a time and place
Right.
for us to be open with people, and there's a time and place for us not to be. But at the same time, I mean, if you're struggling and somebody comes in and says, "How's your week?" It's just been a really rough week. I've
Yeah.
really had some
Yeah.
down times. I'm really struggling.
Yeah.
I talk about on our show all the time. There isn't a day I don't think that goes by where I still don't doubt my own faith.
Mm.
You just do.
Hmm. Hmm.
I
I know
don't.
I struggle a little bit now as being a caretaker for my mom who has dementia.
Yeah.
And
I
my
mean,
dad's not around, and
yeah,
I don't have support from my brother, and I feel isolated, and
yeah,
that's a lonely feeling.
yeah,
That's a
yeah,
lonely feeling. It's
yeah,
real, and you just feel like, am I making the right decision? Am I doing the right thing? Am I
yeah,
giving it my 100%? And you don't want to get burnout,
yeah,
like there's so many different things, facets to mental health.
yeah,
I
yeah.
just
I wish the church would tackle them a little more head on for awareness,
Well,
because
with
I think that's
your wife's background and mine, if they decide to do something, keep
there
me
we
in the
go.
loop.
Yeah, yeah, for sure,
I've
for
been
sure.
doing it for 30. Oh my goodness, I hate to say how many years. 33 years.
Yeah. But yeah, I've been in education for 22, so
Oh, God, love you. Education. Yeah, I work with the kids too on Fridays and those stories. I work Monday with the adults and Friday with the kids, 10.5 hour days. And those kids' stories emotionally wrecks me. I'm not going to lie.
yeah.
Those kids, it's because they're products of their parents, and their parents are just,
You want to take the parents out back and just beat them.
oh, I had to get,
There's
I
just
know,
times
I
I'm
know.
just like, really, the only way to fix the parent is just to beat them up
I
and
know. I
let
know.
them.
You're right. Like I do family sessions and the mom's shopping, really? You're really invested in your kid. There you
I know.
go. I know. I know. I struggle with that. On
I'll
Fridays,
never, I'll never forget. I think it was one time when Shauna was doing her internship, or whatever she was doing before she got her master's. She was doing some children, at the one place she was at, and she's done. The kid was done. Like, basically, we don't need to see you anymore. You've done what you've
Wow.
needed to do. And the mom was like, "Well, can we just keep coming? I mean, he really likes talking to you, and I don't mind paying you for him to talk to somebody who's going to listen to him." And I remember saying, "Isn't that what you're supposed to do as the parent? Like, isn't that your job?"
Yeah. They don't want to do
No, no, not at all. So,
it. Oh, well, hey,
uh,
I appreciate you doing this, Mike. And
Yeah, thank you.
I'm telling you, I'm just gonna keep on letting
Well,
God lead us where
I'm no
lead me where I need to go.
I'm no big podcast star. I only have 600 followers, so it's,
That's pretty big.
but but
$600.
I'll get this edited and get it done here in the next couple weeks. And you said when?
I didn't share this with you. Was there was a lady, Joanne, can't remember her last name. She's a producer for Grey's Anatomy and what's the other one? Grey's Anatomy and something else. Morgan knows her. I mailed my book to her. She's in Santa Monica, but her house caught fire.
One of the ladies that I've had on the show, Beth Caulfield, she just did a movie about her story called Conceivable. I forget who picked it up, but she actually was in a took a screenwriting course with Hunter Biden's daughter, nonetheless, but a screenwriting course in Philly. And they had a contest in the class, and she won. And the lady who was the teacher said, "You might want to submit that screenplay to the national contest." She won. And the screenplay ended up pulling it into a Christian movie. And it's called Conceivable. So I mailed her my two my historical Christian fiction books a couple months ago, and I said, "You think these could be put into a screenplay?"
What'd she say?
I haven't heard from her yet.
Oh,
She'll be coming back on my show. We're actually going to be focusing specifically on the movie. Um, Probably in June. We'll probably get something on the calendar in June and
oh, that's
movie
exciting.
clips in there, and have to, she'll have to let me know which one she wants to focus on and what she was, feeling. But she was overseeing that whole project over in Europe, back and forth. Yeah, it's a really, really neat experience for her. But yeah, she did one, and she is, that's where she's found her, niche.
Wow.
And so she's like I don't know what you call media type person now for Global Methodist Church, nationwide.
Oh
So
my goodness. Maybe I should send her my book.
there you go. There you go. But
Have her get back to you about yours.
yeah, I forget who the company publishing or the movie company was. It's a Christian outfit that I
Hmm.
sent some dates to, but they never got back to me. They said they'd come on the show, but they never got back to me to talk about what they do, why they do, and how they do their
Yeah.
movies.
You never know. You never know the lives that you're touching by you doing this podcast with the different stories. And you never know the stories that come out of that and how that blesses other people and then how they bless other people. It
Yeah,
really is a beautiful thing. It really is.
I've had some people come out of some really crazy, backwoodsy, charismatic hoopla that's like really crazy. And I've been doing this series now on almost going on 2 years of coming out of the charismatic movement, a new apostolic reformation. And I've had a few big names on the show, and uh, it's just interesting to hear from people who, when you're looking on your YouTube, every now and then somebody will put a comment on there. Like even the one with, if God is good, why is there evil in the world? Alls it was myself, the one apologist guy that I know, and
Yeah.
then Paul Morelli, who is a
Oh,
local
yeah. I know
evangelist.
Paul. Yeah.
And so
He knew my father.
yeah. So
Yeah.
the three of us were sitting on there dissecting, if God is good, why is there evil, and how do we decide? And we only showed the first part, and this dude posted on there. I was so encouraged by what you guys shared. And I'm thinking to myself, that's the last show I would have expected a comment to come from.
Really?
And so I just, responded back, hey, that's great. But I've downloaded all my full episodes for all my shows, and for the first year put them all up full, and now I'm doing them in segments. And I think what I'll start doing here after the end of this year's up, and I start looking at all of them, is if people want to get the full show and they don't have to go on YouTube and watch it in
Yeah.
sections, they can just purchase
I
them for
watched
like a
a
couple
few of
bucks.
those with the women when you talked about women and being
In
in
ministry.
ministry. Yeah. Yeah.
That was probably one of my favorites. Lori has done a couple shows with me.
Yes.
We have some really good conversations. Her and I were talking about doing a show on, if we were living out the Great Commandment, what would it really look like? We might do that one here come fall, but we just did one on Christian nationalism. We did the women's. Yeah, the last one aired in March. So all of those three are out. We did Christian nationalism, and then we did one on Karl Barth was a theologian that lived during Hitler's time. He was in Switzerland, and he
Oh.
wrote 3 essays on community, church, and state. And we dissected what that was and the concerns of Christian nationalism and moral majority and this Christian nationalist surge that's kind of hitting our nation, and basically said Christian nationalism is not Christianity. It's not the same thing. It's nowhere even biblical Christianity, and we're just kind of talking through that, and so that'll air also this summer.
Oh, I love the history. I'm a history buff. I love all of that
Oh, yeah,
stuff.
that's my major, so
Yeah, yeah, I like that.
yeah, so yeah, well, I had fun. I will put
Thanks, me
this
too. I did
together.
too. I think everything other than that phone call interrupting, that's a good thing about editing. You can
That's a,
just pause.
that's that's an easy edit.
Yeah.
That's an easy edit.
Oh, Michael,
And there's
thank you
probably
so.
some stuff we talked here on the. I've learned now in the last couple times I don't stop the recording button until we're done,
Okay.
because there's stuff we talked about here since I said the goodbye that we probably could, like, with
Yeah,
mental health.
yeah,
I could probably cut and paste a component about, we have a mental health issue and
yeah.
really need to address it.
Well, and in the back of that book, it talks a lot about the mental health, that there's support services out there. There's
Yeah,
support groups out there. I put the steps. There's some good group conversations too. If you have small groups about grief and support, mental health, there's some good
great,
questions in there too in the back of
great,
the book.
good, good.
So, all right.
All right.
Hey,
Well,
well,
hey,
it sounds great. I'll be seeing you on Saturday then.
yes, yes, I'll be there. All
Okay.
right. Talk to
All
you
right.
later.
Thanks. See ya.
Bye bye.